Hey guys, John here. Today we are checking out this really cool amplifier by Orange, the Dual Baby. It's compact, it's not super heavy, it has 2 channels, and it has a bunch of awesome tones in it. I recently reviewed the Gain Baby on the channel as well, which was excellent, a really cool amplifier. And now the Dual Baby. Thanks so much, Orange, for sending this over to me and sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. Let's start by taking a listen to how this amplifier performs in my one song concept. 10 guitars, 10 different styles. And let's see how well this amplifier can handle those wide range of tones. Check it out. All right, that was interesting, and I think that this amp handled that really, really well. Later in this video, I'll also give you an isolated version with just the guitars of that demo. But first, let's talk a little bit about this amplifier. So this is the Dual Baby 100 watt solid state amplifier from Orange's new solid state amplifier line. You have the Gain Baby, which I reviewed on the channel recently, the Dual Baby, and the Tour Baby. The Gain Baby has a clean channel with a compressor and a high gain channel. This one has the same high gain channel, if I'm correct. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it sounds similar. And then this channel is sort of a crunch or more vintage sounding channel, which you can also get clean tones out of. So high gain and crunch or clean. And then we have a gain and a volume control, presence, 3-band EQ, as well as a tight switch for the high gain channel. And then the same EQ controls for this channel, but this one has the tubby switch over here that you can use to add a little bit of low mids or bottom end to this channel. So you can make it work for a wide variety of guitars, for example. On the back, we have speaker outs, an outlet, XLR out, so you can use this with IRs straight into the DAW and stuff, and then a foot switch out. And of course, an effects loop. So that is cool. And as you can see, it's nice and compact. It can sit on your cabinet without, you know, taking up too much space. And another cool thing that I forgot to mention in my previous review is that they do come with a gig bag. So they are very portable. And I think that they'll be able to take quite a beating. And the prices are also quite reasonable. So solid state, but it does sound very good in my opinion, as you hopefully also heard in that demo track. Orange is kind of known for taking solid state technology to the next level. And I like what they're doing with this new series in terms of the size and in terms of the features and the sound quality. You can't really go wrong with these, in my opinion, unless you're not a fan of the Orange sound. Even though I think that these are a little bit more flexible than your average Orange because of the tight switch, you know, and the tubby switch. You get a little bit more voicing options there. What I'm going to do now is grab one of my guitars and then we're going to just do a raw playthrough of this amplifier and see what sort of tones we can get out of it. Check it out. All right, I am sitting here with my ESP LTD Phoenix 1000 Deluxe quilted maple with the Seymour Duncan custom pickup in the bridge and the Fat Cat in the neck, which is kind of like a P90 pickup, plugged into the Orange Dual Baby. Look at this beauty. Just as the Gain Baby, which we reviewed recently. I really enjoyed that amplifier a lot. And this is kind of a different take on that amplifier. So again, we have two channels. We have the high gain channel over here, or the dirty channel, in this case, channel B, and then the orange channel over here, channel A, which is kind of like your crunch channel that also does clean. We'll get into that in a minute, but we're going to start with channel B, the high gain channel. I don't know if it's identical to the one on the Gain Baby. It sounds similar for sure. It's definitely giving me rock reverb vibes, but just, you know, in a solid state form, basically. Now, of course, the amp is being fed into my Grossmann Fatbox 1x12 cabinet, loaded up with my familiar Celestion Vintage 30, mic'd up with two SM57s and one MD421K, sent into the DAW, and there's that. So, this is the tone that I have going on right now. A really nice tone, feels great to play through. There's not really anything about this tone that screams solid state to me. It just feels very organic and a lot of fun to play, so that's great. Now, just as with the Gain Baby, we have a little switch over here, the tight switch. And I think just as with the bright switch, the more gain you add, the more subtle it is. So we're going to try it again with low gain in a minute. But let's see what it does with a high gain tone like this. So it's on the tight setting now, so the low end response is nice and tight, which of course is great for modern stuff. And then when we flick it up, it sounds like this. So it definitely tightens up the bottom end a little bit. I'm not sure which of these two voicings is the most similar to the raw reverb. I imagine with the tight switch off, but I'm not sure. I think both sound great. Now, if we lower the gain, let's do that and then try the same switch and see what happens. So I'm going to lower the gain first. So that's a crunchy tone right there. And now let's flick the switch off. Yeah, so it's definitely a bit more noticeable with low gain. Let's see how, how clean we can get this channel to sound. Let me go to the neck pickup. So that's a nice crunch, but it's too bright and too thin. So let's flick off the bright switch. That's much better, right? So for low gains, I would definitely use the tight switch in the off position. So that's a cool sort of fat crunch right there. So I've upped the gain a little bit. Let's also boost some mids and maybe boost some lows as well. Can't stop chugging. So that's a cool crunchy tone right there. All right, let's back off the mids a little bit and let's raise the gain up. So around 1 o'clock or so. You know what? Let's go to around 2 o'clock. So this is with the tight switch off, which probably is better suited for slower genres or like stoner and doom. I don't really know how to play those genres, but let's have a go. I'm sure that that doesn't sound like those genres at all, but I digress. So let's go back with the tight switch on for a bit more of a modern tone. It's so much fun to play through that tone. It's wonderful. Cool. So let's try the EQ real quick, just so you guys can hear how those affect the tone, right? Let's start with the bass control. That definitely makes the tone more thin, obviously. And that makes the tone more fat. Surprise, surprise. All right, let's scoop the mids out a little bit. You know, I usually don't really like to scoop the mids on most amplifiers anyway. Let's boost the mids and see what we get. You know, for a rhythm tone, that's probably too much, but for a lead, that could work. So if you're just going to use this amplifier for a lead tone, you might want to boost the mids, or if you're using like scooped speakers or something like that. You know, I like it just fine with the mids at the middle. Let's also try the treble control real quick. That darkens up the tone, obviously. So yeah, I think that the EQ is quite musical sounding, which is nice. Let's leave the bass at around 1 o'clock or so, and treble also. This is a good balance, I think. Of course, that's going to depend on the speaker and your guitar and your pickups and all that stuff. Let's also try the presence control and see what that does and how drastic that is. With the Gain Baby, I thought it wasn't too drastic. It's on the subtle side, but let's see if it's the same with this amplifier. I wouldn't call that subtle, so that sounds pretty good actually. So that is channel 2, the heavy channel, which again, I love a lot. You can also boost it and stuff and go crazy with it. Now let's go to channel A. I think I have it dialed in for a nice crunch tone right now. Let's take a listen. Let's just crank the gain up all the way. So that is kind of reminiscent of something like a Tiny Terror, a bit more vintage and a bit less gain on tap, right? So we also have this switch over here, this tubby switch. Let's see what that does. It might not be drastic with a high gain like this, but let's see what it does, okay? I think it's off right now. So it seems to be some sort of low cut, and I'm willing to bet that if we lower the gain, it's going to be more obvious. I've lowered the gain. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, so in the bottom position, there's a bit more warmth and fatness in the low mids. So I guess you could fine tune it for the pickups that you're using. For example, if you're going to use a Strat on the bridge pickup, you might want to have this switch in the bottom position. And for a humbucker tone like I have right now, the top position is probably better. Now let's see how clean we can get this channel to sound by lowering the gain. So that's a pretty nice clean tone right there. And now with the tubby switch to the down position. So yeah, This channel can do clean quite nicely, actually. It's of course different than the Gain Baby, because that one has that compressor feature. This one doesn't, but I like it. Very cool. Let's lower the volume, raise the gain back up. And let's have a little fiddle with the EQ controls as well, real quick. I assume they're gonna respond the same as with the other channel, but let's just try. Cool. So I guess you could say that in terms of the amounts of gain and crunch tones and stuff, this one is a bit more versatile than the Gain Baby. The Gain Baby does clean and high gain tones, or clean and a crunch tone. And this does either two crunches, or a clean or a crunch, or a clean and a high gain, or a crunch or a high gain. And I love it. Bit more vintage, bit more modern. I love the switches. Sounds good to me. So it's quite a versatile amplifier for sure. I haven't tried the Tour Baby, but I imagine that at least for high gain players and stuff, this is probably the most versatile of the bunch. Although the clean channel on the Gain Baby is nice with the VCA compressor and stuff, I do like this one a lot. Now let's also check out the isolated version of the one song concept, so you can hear just the guitars and how they sound in all their glory. Take a listen. All right, folks. So that is the Orange Dual Baby 100. A really nice amplifier from the new Baby line, the 100 watt solid state amplifiers. I like this thing a lot. I think it sounds great. It feels great to play through too. And I can't really think of a lot of things to say that are negative. I mean, they just are what they are, you know. They deliver and they're fun, good priced, very sturdy and solid. What's not to love? What's not to love? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support this channel or Orange, buy one of these at my affiliate links for Thomann or Sweetwater. You can also get something at my web store, like IRs or captures and stuff like that. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, as that really helps the channel out. And let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on these amplifiers, because I'd love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.